So it's 1:30 a.m. and I'm just getting into bed. And I want to tell you why I have zero regrets. I have just decided at midnight to start a project in my 14-year-old son's room of putting up hooks for the teddy hammock. And I tell you what, if you don't have someone with ADHD in your life, get someone, because they're brilliant. We're so much fun, but it means sometimes you end up staying up till 1:30 a.m. Started unpacking his teddies, and I walked in there with these hooks at midnight, and I said, I have ADHD and autism, and my son has ADHD. I walked into my son's room at midnight and said, of course, midnight's the time to start a new project, putting up hooks, isn't it? And he was like, yeah, of course it is. So we put these hooks up and put this little hammock up for his teddies. And then his teddies have been in black bin bags in storage. And I remember when we left England, we had to put them in vacuum sealed bags to fit them in the suitcases. And so this was like 2 years ago. He was 12, and he individually hugged every teddy and spoke to it and said, I'm really sorry, but this is what we have to do to get you to England. And he sort of like said goodbye to them and explained and put them all lovingly into this bag, and then I vacuum packed them and they made it safely from England to Canada. So we had then had to store them again since we've moved in Canada in these black bin bags, and they've been there a little while waiting to come out because we hadn't put these hooks up for this hammock. So we started getting the teddies out of the bag and giving them all a big hug. So we greeted every teddy, we hugged them, made sure they were all right, and then I said, right, we need to decide who's going where, because this little teddy hammock's not going to hold them all, and some of them are quite big. I said, you need to assemble the council of the teddies, the greatest minds of the teddies, and have a conversation. Oh, that's right, I've missed a bit. So what happened was I said to my son, which teddies do you want to put in the hammock and which do you want to put underneath, like round the bed? And he was like, oh, I'm not sure. And I said, maybe we should ask the teddies. And he was like, right. At first he looked at me and he was like, he went with me. So the wonderful Vivek Patel, who I'm learning all about non-coercive collaborative parenting from, there's a whole thing on go with, how we go with children. It's wonderful. Go look up his stuff if you've not heard of him yet, Vivek Patel from Meaningful Ideas. But in this moment, my 14-year-old son decided to go with me because I was putting this out here like, we need to ask the teddies in all seriousness. And he had a moment to decide, like, has my mum lost her mind? Do I, like, should I be calling for some assistance? Or do I go with? And he looked at me and he decided to go with. And he then laid out all the teddies in this semicircle and paired them up, and there was an order to where they all... And then he went through and told me the names and jobs of all these teddies. You know, this is the French diplomat. These guys are head of arts and culture, and they're both famous actors, those two teddies. And I've seen some of their stuff. They're in a couple of videos that are on my, saved in my iCloud somewhere. They're pretty famous, these guys. You know, these are the royalty, the nobility, the rich families on the, council. But it turns out they're missing their prime minister, the premier. She's a woman, she's AWOL, no one knows where she is. So they're not quite sure who's in charge of the country at this point, these teddies. But they're doing the best they can, bless them. And the First Lady is sort of stepped in So she's kind of temporarily in charge. We don't know where. So if anyone's got any ideas where she's got to, the premier of our Teddy council and country, that'd be handy. And they're actually a whole council with no people to rule over. So they're just ruling themselves. Although I did point out that it might be they're ruling over the gnomes and the fairies, but they only come out at night, so we don't see them. So it could well be that's their subjects are the gnomes and the fairies, but who knows? We won't really know, will we? Because that's all happening at night when we're asleep. And we had a massive laugh over the French diplomat because he's the only French person. So he represents all the French people in the country. So he goes off and has little meetings with himself. He talks to himself, and then he comes back and he says, "I've surveyed 100% of the French people, and this is what they think." So he's very good at his job, really. But yeah, we were laughing and laughing. We had so much fun. This is the best time ever I have had unpacking, you know? And it could have just been really, really fucking boring. And I could have gone in and done it for him. And, you know, then what? Like, we wouldn't have had any of that beautiful interaction and time together if I'd gone in and just done it for him. I could have gone in and put the teddy hammock up for him and left him to put them away on his own. I could have nagged him to do it until he did it. That would have been really frustrating, wouldn't it? But instead, you know, he let me in. I invited him in, and we had a lot of fun. So this is the kind of shit that happens when you embrace who you fully are. Because I've finally embraced the fact that I have autism and ADHD, and I'm being unmasked.